Hi, today I'm talking about American comedian and actor Fatty Arbuckle, who died in 1933 at the age of 46. Roscoe Arbuckle was an American silent film star, comedian, director and screenwriter. He was born Roscoe Conklin Arbuckle, but would later be known as Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle because he was overweight. He was born on the 24th of March 1887 in Smith Center, Kansas, to William Goodrich Arbuckle and Mary Arbuckle, whose maiden name was Gordon. He was one of 9 children. He reportedly weighed more than 13 pounds when he was born. His mother suffered from health problems after giving birth to him. His father had a suspicion that he wasn't his father due to his birth weight because both parents were of slim build. The family moved to Santa Ana in California. Roscoe acquired the nickname of Fatty at school and was bullied because of his weight. He found solace performing on stage from the age of 8 and enjoyed the applause he received from the audience. He had a great singing voice and was agile even though he was heavy. His mother died when he was 11 years old. Apparently his father stopped supporting him, and so he worked at a hotel doing various jobs. Someone overheard him singing and suggested he take part in a talent show. He performed a singing and dancing routine in the talent show, but the audience weren't warming to him. The bad acts were pulled off the stage with a shepherd's crook. Fatty saw the crook coming, and so he panicked and somersaulted off the stage into the orchestra pit. The audience loved it and he ended up winning the competition. He then pursued a professional theatre career. In 1908, Fatty married actress Minta Durfee, who would later appear in his movies and who also worked with Charlie Chaplin. Fatty began his film career with the Selig Polyscope Company when he appeared in their film Ben's Kid in 1909. It was directed by Francis Boggs. I've made a video about Francis. He became a huge star when he made the Keystone Cops comedies for studio boss Mack Sennett. These comedies featured visual gags and chase scenes. The first pie in the face scene was filmed in the 1913 film A Noise from the Deep. Mabel Normand threw the pie and it hit Fatty in the face. He made over 150 silent movies. He weighed nearly 300 pounds, that's over 21 stone. However, he was light on his feet and could perform slapstick comedy stunts that required dexterity. Matt Sennett is quoted as saying, "He could do a backward somersault as gracefully as a girl tumbler." Some of his films featured his name, such as Fatty's Day Off, Fatty and the Heiress, and Fickle Fatty's Fall. He refused to let his friends and colleagues call him Fatty and reminded them his name was Roscoe. He also didn't let his weight feature in jokes such as getting stuck in a chair or a doorway. He formed his own film company with Joseph Schenck, who was later the co-founder of 20th Century Fox. Their company was called Comique, Comique. Fatty had more creative control. Fatty became good friends with comedian Buster Keaton, and he gave him his start in the picture business. They starred together in the movie The Butcher Boy in 1917, which was Buster's film debut. It also featured Fatty's nephew, Al St. John, and Luke the dog, a Staffordshire Terrier, who was Fatty and Minta's own pet. Here they are together. In 1920, he signed a contract with Paramount Pictures for $1 million a year, making him one of the highest paid performers at that time. On the 5th of September 1921, Fatty took a break from filming and drove up to San Francisco with 2 friends, actor and film director Lowell Sherman, who would later direct Mae West's film She Done Him Wrong, and Katharine Hepburn's film Morning Glory, which she won an Oscar for. And film director and producer Fred Fishback. From left to right, this is Fred, actress Edith Roberts, and an unidentified man. Fatty had suffered burns to his bottom due to an accident while filming, but he didn't want it to stop his Labour Day weekend trip. They checked into the St Francis Hotel. They had 3 rooms between them. Room 1219 was for Fatty and Fred to share. Room 1221 was for Lowell, and 1220 was to be used as a party room. One of the guests at the party was a 30-year-old aspiring actress called Virginia Rappe, who was also a model. She was known for her picture being on sheet music for the song Let Me Call You Sweetheart. She was with her manager Al Semnacher and a woman called Bambina Maud Delmont. Maud Delmont was apparently a crook. She had been in trouble for fraud, bigamy and extortion. Fatty went to the bathroom and found Virginia vomiting. He thought she was drunk and carried her to the bed. Virginia began screaming and tearing at her clothes. Maud came into the room, as well as actresses Zay Prevon, also known as Zay Prevost, and Alice Blake. Fred Fishback came in. Virginia apparently shouted at Fatty, "Stay away from me, I don't want you near me." She turned to Maud and said, "What did he do to me, Maudie? Roscoe did this to me." Fred put Virginia into a bath of cold water to try to calm her down. A doctor was called and the doctor concluded that Virginia was drunk, and he gave her morphine and she went to sleep. It was Maud who told the doctor that Virginia had been, because this is YouTube, I'm going to spell it out, Rapped by Fatty. The doctor found no sign of Rape. Virginia wasn't admitted to hospital until 2 days later. The party guests hadn't admitted her earlier, apparently because of the publicity it would cause. Fatty had already left and was back in Los Angeles. Virginia was taken to the Wakefield Sanitarium. On the 9th of September, Virginia died from peritonitis. It had been caused by a tear in her bladder. This was said to have happened when the overweight comedian Raped her. Dr. Rachel D. Arias, a gynecologist in the show Mysteries and Scandals, said a bladder couldn't be ruptured by the weight of someone. Fatty was arrested for the Rape and murder of Virginia. He was shocked and maintained that he was innocent. The rumours were he either placed a large piece of ice, a Coke bottle, beer bottle, or a champagne bottle inside her. None of these items were found in the room where Virginia was. The guests were drinking gin. Fatty apparently had rubbed ice onto Virginia, as this was an old remedy to revive someone if they were drunk or had fainted. Buster Keaton had told Fatty about this. William Randolph Hearst newspapers printed sensational headlines to sell as many newspapers as they could, which made the public think that Fatty was guilty. His films were pulled from the cinemas and his career was in ruins. The charge was reduced to manslaughter. There ended up being 3 trials. Fatty's defence team found that the star witness, Maud Delmont, was trying to extort money from Fatty. She also changed her story. The first trial began on the 14th of November 1921. One of the doctors who attended Virginia, Dr. Arthur Beardsley, testified that Virginia didn't tell him that Fatty Raped her. Witness Alice Blake admitted that she had made a statement under duress and had been pressured to do so by the district attorney Matthew Brady. Betty Campbell, who had attended the party, admitted she had been intimidated by Matthew Brady to testify. All of her statements were geared to make Fatty look guilty of the charges. A nurse admitted a bladder could rupture if someone had bladder cancer. It was found that Virginia had an illness as there was chronic inflammation. She was known to suffer from cystitis. Drinking alcohol aggravates cystitis. It could have been the result of a botched abortion as well, but that wasn't proved. Fatty took to the stand and his testimony helped his defence. The jury was deadlocked with a 10-2 not guilty verdict, which resulted in a mistrial. Here is Fatty with his team at the first trial. The second trial began on the 11th of January 1922. In this trial, one of the witnesses, Zay Prevon, testified that the District Attorney Matthew Brady had forced her to lie. In this trial, Virginia's promiscuity and the fact that she'd been a heavy drinker was brought up. Fatty wasn't called to the witness stand in this trial. This time the result was the reverse of the first trial. The jury was deadlocked with a 10-2 in favour of conviction, which resulted in another mistrial. Here is the photo of the room at the St. Francis Hotel. The third trial began on the 13th of March 1922. Fatty's lawyer, Gavin McNabb, included Virginia's history into the trial. Zay Prevon had fled the country and wasn't able to grace the witness stand. She'd obviously had enough. Fatty gave evidence of his version of what happened on the stand. This time the jury came through with a unanimous not guilty verdict. They even wrote an apology, which is a very rare thing to happen. The apology reads, "Acquittal is not enough for Roscoe Arbuckle. We feel that a great injustice has been done him. We feel also that it was only our plain duty to give him this exoneration under the evidence, but there was not the slightest proof adduced to connect him in any way with the commission of a crime. He was manly throughout the case and told a straightforward story on the witness stand which we all believed. The happening at the hotel was an unfortunate affair for which Arbuckle, so the evidence shows, was in no way responsible. We wish him success and hope that the American people will take the judgment of 14 men and women who have sat listening for 31 days to evidence that Roscoe Arbuckle is entirely innocent and free from all blame." But poor Fatty's career was in ruins. The movies he had made were withdrawn and he was blacklisted from films. He suffered from depression and drank to ease the pain. He found work as a director and he used his father's name, William Goodrich, as a pseudonym. He divorced his first wife, Minta, who had supported him throughout his trials, even though they were estranged at the time. He married his second wife, actress Doris in 1925. He opened a cafe called Roscoe Arbuckle's Plantation Cafe in 1928. Doris and Fatty were divorced in 1929. He married his third wife, Addie Oakley Jukes McPhail, in 1932. He managed to get roles in short films, Buzzing Around, How Have You Been, and Close Relations in 1933. His fans were delighted he was back. On the 29th of June 1933, Fatty signed a contract with Warner Brothers to star in a feature-length film. Here he is in a Keystone Cops picture called In the Clutches of the Gang in 1914. He went out to celebrate his first wedding anniversary and his new film contract. His life was back on track. He reportedly said, "This is the best day of my life." In a cruel twist of fate, he had a heart attack that night and died in his sleep at the age of 46. He was cremated and his ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean. Here he is with actress Julia Fay. That was such a terrible thing to happen to him, wasn't it? And he was getting back on top. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.